Good morning, everyone. I'm Constable Dani McKinnon, Winnipeg Police Service Public Information Officer today. We have 3 related matters to relate on. Joining me today is RCMP Corporal Julie Kershane, and we will interchangeably be doing this release. So I'm going to start with Corporal Kershane stepping up.
Thank you. Firstly, the RCMP, along with the Winnipeg Police Service, would like to offer our condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues of the victims. What occurred yesterday was a tragedy. This incident began on October 27, 2021, at approximately 12:40 p.m. when St. Pierre-Joly RCMP were dispatched to conduct a well-being check on a resident of a home located in New Bothwell, Manitoba. The request for the well-being check came from a concerned acquaintance of the resident. Officers attended the residence and located a 73-year-old female deceased. An adult male who is known to the victim was identified as a potential suspect, and officers began efforts to locate him for further questioning. The initial investigation determined that he was in the Winnipeg area, and that information was relayed to Winnipeg Police Service immediately. At that time, the only information available to the RCMP was that a single homicide had occurred and that a potential suspect had been identified. As the search for the suspect continued, it evolved into a much larger investigation. I will now turn it over to the Winnipeg Police Service to provide further information about what occurred in the city of Winnipeg.
Thank you, Corporal Kershane. On October 27th, 2021, at approximately 1:30 p.m., St. Pierre-Joly RCMP contacted the Winnipeg Police Service regarding a homicide that was discovered in the RM of Hanover. They requested the assistance of WPS as it was believed that the suspect had traveled to Winnipeg. At approximately 2:30 p.m., Winnipeg Police Service ascertained that the suspect may be in the area of Leila Avenue and McPhillips Street. While en route to this area, they received a report of a stabbing at the Seven Oaks Hospital. Officers quickly responded and located an adult female in her 60s who had been seriously injured and was receiving emergency personnel first aid. She was transported to a hospital in critical condition, where she remains in serious condition today. An adult male in his 30s was subsequently taken into custody. Later in the evening, RCMP attended to the 300 block of Toronto Street in Winnipeg regarding their initial homicide investigation. An adult male in his 70s was located deceased and believed to be the victim of a homicide. From here, the WPS Homicide Unit has assumed the investigation. Members of the WPS Homicide Unit and the RCMP Major Crime Services Unit continue to investigate all 3 of these incidents and believe they may be related. No charges have been laid at this time. Anyone with information to assist investigators is asked to call the Winnipeg Police Service Homicide Unit at 204-986-6508. You can also call Manitoba RCMP's Major Crime Services tip line. That number is 431-489-8105, or anonymously at Crime Stoppers, 204-786-TIPS. So we'll now take some questions. If they are regarding the matter initially discussed with the Hanover murder, Constable Kershane will take over those questions. Anything to do with Seven Oaks or Toronto, I will address those questions.
In the Seven Oaks and Toronto ones, is the suspect known to the victims, and if so, how?
So we'll break it down into 2 pieces. The victim and the suspect in the Seven Oaks are believed to have been previously known to each other, as well as the victim in the homicide, yes, on Toronto Street.
Is the suspect related to the 2 victims on Toronto and in New Bothwell?
So in terms of New Bothwell, I'm going to let Corporal Kershane answer that question. In terms of Toronto, it is believed that they were known to each other. The relationship is not being confirmed at this time.
The
relationship between the victim at Seven Oaks and the suspect? Were they co-workers?
Any questions regarding the employee relationship, that is going to be addressed, if you could, to the WRHA or Seven Oaks Hospital. They are prepared to answer that question.
So I just want to confirm that it's not somebody off the street coming into the hospital. It was internal.
That's right.
What has led you to believe that all three of these are related and the same person responsible?
Well, there was a really good collaborative effort with the RCMP and the Winnipeg Police yesterday. Everybody worked in a timely manner and quite effectively to draw links. We received information around 1:30 from RCMP. They believed that a suspect had come to Winnipeg through investigational technique. Winnipeg Police picked up on that investigation, ascertained suspect was in the area of Leila and McPhillips, and then we received further information that this suspect may be at the hospital. Upon arrival, we learned that he did match the suspect
So
description.
Just to confirm, the stabbing occurred inside Seven Oaks Hospital?
Yes.
Okay, and how did the suspect get inside? Is there security? How does that kind of work out?
I don't know how he was in. I don't know if he was in there. I don't know the circumstances as to how he was there. No.
Was there concern for the safety of anybody else that was possibly related or known to the suspect while you guys were searching for him?
So based on the initial information, which was not confirmed at the time, yes, RCMP and Winnipeg Police Service were diligent in making, doing well-being checks and checking on the safety of any other potential victims.
And just to follow up on Danielle's question, the suspect is an employee at the hospital? Is staff member?
Again, I can't confirm that. You'll have to turn those questions over to WRHA.
Are investigators able to provide any sort of motive at this point for these three related incidents?
No, this is really early on in the investigation. RCMP and Winnipeg Police Homicide Unit are just unfolding, unpacking all of those details that as they're coming in.
What can you tell us about how he was arrested? Was there help from people in the area, in the hospital, bystanders in any way?
I don't really have that information. I just understand that Winnipeg Police General Patrol was in the area as we were looking for him. It appeared that this assault had just occurred, and clearly there were a number of witnesses and bystanders who identified him.
What can you tell us, just, I guess, just to make people understand just how brazen an attack like this is? People go to the hospital because they need help, and for something like this to happen with potentially hundreds of people in the area witnessing it as well.
Well, it is very unexpected, considering the hospital is a safe haven. We're still unfolding the motive and the potential reason this all did occur.
And was the victim in the Seven Oaks Hospital attack, was that multiple stabbings?
I can't speak to the actual assault. Again, that's privacy information and part of the investigation that's taking place.
There was a blue car that was towed away from the scene. Is that the suspect's vehicle?
I don't know. That's something, again, would be part of the investigation, so we have to look at that all as it unfolds.
Why have no charges been laid yet?
So the suspect was taken into custody after the hospital incident. Right now, the suspect is undergoing medical assessment.
Is the suspect a resident of Winnipeg?
I believe so, yes.
Are police looking for any other suspects connected to any of these crimes, or is this just kind of a singular person or individual on their own on this?
The information that we have right now is that we're just looking at the one potential suspect. Of course, as the investigation broadens, more information comes in, potentially with tips that are received. That's always something that an investigation can consider, or investigators can consider. At this time, we're just dealing with the one person.
Can you go through the timeline of how you believe what time these incidents happened? Obviously, the Toronto incident was found after the incident at Seven Oaks, but obviously would have happened prior to it.
Yeah, so because we have these 3 linked events and one of them is outside of the city of Winnipeg, that's still part of the collaborative investigational process. Timeline has not been developed at this time to provide to the public.
Is there a relation between the Toronto Street victim and the Bothwell victim? Are they related?
That's something that I can't confirm right now.
Can you say what led you guys to Toronto Street?
That was RCMP first attended, so unless, Julie, do you have any information to say on that? Otherwise, no, that's just part of the initial investigation that RCMP were delving into.
Can you speak to the suspect's state of mind when he was apprehended? Was he on drugs at all? Was he exhibiting other dangerous personality traits or anything like that, or was he pretty lucid and pretty calm and taken?
No, and again, when a suspect is arrested under such circumstances that occurred, that's part of the investigational process. So I don't want to get too deep into that or any speculation as to somebody's demeanor.
Is there anybody outstanding in the well-being checks of the people that you were concerned about?
I don't believe so. RCMP and Winnipeg did work together to really do those safety checks.
Question for Constable Crochet, if possible. I guess RCMP were called to the Hanover homicide around 1:30. I'm just wondering, we heard something about yesterday from people at the Seven Oaks Hospital about an alert to the hospital. Did the RCMP contact the hospital at all for any reason upon arriving at that scene in Hanover?
So I'll go over the timeline a little bit. So yesterday, it was around 12:40 that St. Pierre first received that call about check the well-being. And then by 1:30, there was already information relayed about a possible suspect who was in the Winnipeg area. So obviously it was unfolding very quickly. We used investigative techniques to get that information and to collaborate with our partners in order to try and find this potential suspect.
Was the hospital alerted?
That I don't know.
What can you tell us about the 2 other victims? Were they also stabbings as well?
I can't get into exactly what occurred.
Can you say who made the call for the wellness check? Was it a neighbor? Was it the suspect? Was it a family member of the victim?
So I can just say it was an acquaintance of the victim.
Couple more questions?
Given that one of the attacks occurred at a hospital, is there any thought that the motivation may have been related to conflict over the COVID-19 pandemic or response of conflict between over testing and vaccination?
Oh, that would just be such a big speculation. As we indicated earlier, motive has not been established. This investigation is still in its infancy. Charges have not been laid at this time. So really, this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's not often that we have 3 massive events that are related, so there's a lot to piece together here at this time.
Going back to the arrest, was he arrested at the hospital? Was he held there? Had he run away or attempted to flee? Like, where did the arrest happen?
It happened at the hospital just moments after the assault occurred. He was safely taken into custody.
So you say he's undergoing medical assessment. How long does something like that take? And when could people possibly see charges? And do we even know what charges this man is facing?
No. So I can't speak to that. That would be something you would have to inquire at the hospital. And then once he's back in police custody, again, the investigation is considered, and we look at developing the charges based on the evidence and how these 3 incidents unfolded.
So he would currently still be in hospital getting medical assessment?
Yes.
We had a situation last week where an alert was sent out for a wanted man outside of the city. I'm just wondering if that was considered in this situation at all by either WPS or RCMP.
So in terms of when those alerts go out, there is just a very stringent amount of criteria that's considered. Certainly the alerts cannot go out all the time, but what I will say is I just want to circle back and say that the two investigative units, the partners between the RCMP and the Winnipeg Police Service, were working in lockstep on this. It unfolded very, very quickly from the moment that we received information from RCMP in Hanover to locating the suspect at the hospital. So at this point in time, I would say that it did not meet the mandate for the criteria to put out an alert.
Was he arrested peacefully? Was there a fight out there? Or
No,
did he just
I
go
indicated
around?
he was arrested safely and peacefully.
The suspect, was he a resident of the home in the 300 block of Toronto Street?
I don't know. That's something I'm not sure of.
The arrest of the suspect, was that done in sort of an open area in front of lots of people? I mean, hospitals have large open areas, atriums and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't have the full details on that. My understanding is the attack occurred in the open area of the hospital, and as I said, police attended very quickly and made an arrest.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the hospital was on lockdown yesterday. What's the situation now? Is it still on lockdown, or
Yeah.
how can visitors enter? What's the...
So that would be a really typical situation. Anytime there's an immediate threat in progress or shortly thereafter, they would do something similar like this at a school, making sure everybody's safe in the area, there's no other potential threats. And my understanding is that the hospital is now open. Any details in terms of visitation and whatnot, please refer to the hospital.
What can you tell us, anything more on the condition, current condition of the woman in her 60s?
So she remains in serious condition. And I can't speak any further than that because that would go against privacy information. Any other questions for myself or Corporal Kershane?
Can you describe the police resources that were deployed for this investigation, like the number of officers who were attending and just the overall scope of this investigation?
No, the scope was broad. It started, we had general patrol, as we indicated. It's moved into our major crimes unit was involved. Currently, we've got our homicide unit. So it was a large scope of resources. Anything else for Corporal Kershane? Okay, thank you very much.